The hospital didn't ask if I was okay. They asked where the $68,000 went. That was it. No warning, no softness, just a number, and a problem I didn't create, but somehow had to solve. Have you ever had a moment where your entire future just slips? Not dramatically, not all at once, just quietly, like something being pulled out from under you while no one else notices. That's what this felt like. I was standing in my kitchen when the call came in. Barefoot, half awake. My coffee hadn't even finished brewing yet. It was supposed to be a normal morning, the kind where you check off small things and pretend everything big is under control. My surgery was in 9 days. 9. I had been counting down like it was the only thing that mattered, because it was. 2 years of appointments. 2 years of pain I kept telling myself wasn't getting worse, even when it was. 2 years of saving, negotiating, applying, waiting. And finally, I had made it to the point where all that was left was showing up. So when the hospital billing department called, I didn't think danger. I thought paperwork. "Hi, this is Mara Vance," I said, already reaching for a pen. There was a pause on the other end. Not long, but just enough to feel wrong. Then the woman said it. "Your prepayment is no longer in the account." Not delayed, not pending. Gone. I remember blinking like that might fix it, like maybe I misheard her. "I'm sorry." "What?" "The $68,000 required for your procedure, it's no longer available." And just like that, everything went quiet. Not around me, inside me. Because here's the thing. When something like that happens, your brain doesn't jump to panic right away. It searches for logic, for mistakes, for anything that makes it make sense. So that's what I did. I told her I'd check, hung up, walked slowly to my laptop, logged in, and there it was. Balance, $412.36. I didn't react. Not yet. I just stared at the number. Then I opened the transaction history. One line, one clean, undeniable line. Withdrawal, $68,000. Completed 3 days ago. 3 days, not weeks, not months. 3. So let me ask you something. If you saw that, if everything you fought for just vanished in a single line, what would your first thought be? Mine wasn't who. Not immediately. It was how. Because that account wasn't just mine. It couldn't be. I had set it up with my parents, because that's what you're supposed to do, right? Be responsible, be careful, trust the people who raised you to help you manage something important. 3 names were on that account. Mine, my mother's, Elena, and my father's, Richard. That realization didn't hit like a shock. It settled, heavy, slow, unavoidable. And then something else crept in. A memory. No, an image. Bright, filtered, too perfect. I reached for my phone, opened Instagram, and there it was. Posted 2 days ago. My sister, Talia, standing next to a brand new white SUV, one hand on the hood like she owned the world. Big red bow across the front. Dealership tag still on it. Smiling. Not just smiling, beaming, like nothing in the world had ever gone wrong for her. Caption? Hard work pays off, so grateful. My parents were in the background of the photo, smiling too, and in that moment, everything connected. But I didn't cry. I didn't call. I didn't even breathe differently, because something about it felt too clear, too final. Like the truth had already decided itself, and all I was doing now was catching up to it. I just stood there, staring at that picture, one thought repeating in the back of my mind. They didn't even try to hide it. And that's when I realized something even worse than the money being gone. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they did it anyway. I didn't call them. I didn't text. I didn't confront anyone. Instead, I grabbed my keys, because there was only one person I needed to see, and she was already dying. End of introduction, part 1. Waiting for your go to continue. Go introduction, part 2. Approximately 500 plus words. I didn't turn on the radio, didn't check my phone again, didn't give myself time to think, because thinking would have meant feeling, and I wasn't ready for that yet. The drive to hospice felt shorter than it should have been. Or maybe I just don't remember it. You know how sometimes your body moves, but your mind stays stuck somewhere else? Mine was still in that kitchen, still staring at that number, $412.36. That number followed me all the way into the parking lot. It followed me as I shut off the engine. As I sat there for a second too long, hands still gripping the steering wheel, because walking in there meant something. It meant saying it out loud. And once I said it, it would be real in a way it wasn't yet. But I went in anyway. The hospice smelled like antiseptic and something softer underneath it, like flowers that were already fading, quiet, too quiet, like the building itself knew why everyone was there. Room 214. I didn't knock. I never knocked with her. "Hey, Grandma," I said softly, stepping inside. Evelyn Vance looked smaller than the last time I saw her. Not fragile, just reduced, like the world had slowly been taking pieces of her and she had decided not to fight it anymore. But her eyes? Sharp, still completely there. They found me immediately, and for a second, just a second, I almost pretended everything was fine. Almost. "There you are," she said, her voice thin but steady. "You've been quiet." I gave a small shrug, setting my bag down. "Busy." It was a weak answer. We both knew it. She studied me longer than I was comfortable with, not in a gentle way, in a precise way, like she was reading something I hadn't said yet. And then she asked the one question I wasn't ready for. "Is the surgery still on schedule?" Simple, direct, no escape. That's the thing about her, she didn't circle around things, she walked straight through them. I opened my mouth to answer, and nothing came out. Because what was I supposed to say? Yes. If I magically come up with $68,000 in 9 days? Maybe, if betrayal counts as a payment method? So instead, I sat down, right next to her bed, and I told her. Not dramatically, not all at once, just piece by piece. "The hospital called this morning." Pause. "They said the payment's gone." Another pause. "I checked the account. And then finally, all of it. Every dollar." She didn't interrupt, didn't react, didn't ask questions. She just listened. And when I finished, the room felt heavier, like something had settled between us, something real, something final. I waited for the reaction, shock, confusion, anger, anything. But instead, she exhaled slowly, closed her eyes for a brief second, and said very quietly, "I was wondering when they'd cross that line." I froze, not because of what she said, because of how she said it. No surprise, no disbelief, just confirmation. And suddenly the story in my head, the one where this was a terrible mistake or some impulsive, reckless decision, it started to fall apart. "You knew?" I asked. She opened her eyes again, meeting mine. I knew what they were capable of. That landed differently. Because that wasn't about the money, that was about them, my parents, and whatever version of them she had seen that I hadn't, or maybe didn't want to see. I felt something shift in my chest then, not pain, not yet, just pressure, building. Because now there was a new question forming, one I hadn't asked before. If this wasn't a mistake, then what was it? And how long had it been coming? Grandma watched me carefully, like she could see that question forming in real time. And then she asked something that made my stomach drop. "Did they tell you before or after?" I swallowed. "They didn't tell me at all." Silence. Heavy. Still. Absolute. And then everything changed. Her expression hardened. Not dramatically, not visibly to anyone else, but I saw it. A decision. Made instantly, without hesitation. She shifted slightly in the bed, wincing just enough to remind me how fragile her body actually was. But her hand? Steady, purposeful. She reached toward the drawer beside her, opened it, and pulled out her phone. I frowned slightly. "Grandma?" She didn't answer right away, didn't look at me. She just stared at the phone in her hand like it wasn't a device, but a trigger. And then she said, almost to herself, "Then we're done being patient," and started dialing. End of introduction, complete. Waiting for your go to continue to Chapter 1, go Chapter 1. Approximately 600 words. I thought Grandma was calling my parents. She wasn't. That was my first mistake. I assumed this was still a family conversation. A painful one, sure. Maybe ugly, maybe explosive, but still private, still contained inside the walls of our last name. I was wrong. Grandma held the phone against her ear with the kind of calm that made everything feel more serious, not less. Her hand looked thin, almost translucent against the blanket, but there was nothing weak about the way she waited through the first ring. Or the second. Then someone answered. "Daniel," she said. "No hello, no warm-up. It's Evelyn. I need you." I sat up straighter. The name meant nothing to me for half a second. Then it did. Daniel Kessler, the family attorney. Not the kind of person you call for comfort, not the kind of person you call because you're upset, the kind of person you call when facts matter, when records matter, when someone has crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. Grandma listened for a moment, then said, "No, I don't need a meeting next week. I need you to review the Vance account activity today." Every nerve in my body tightened. The Vance account activity, not my account, not Mara's surgery fund. The way she said it made it sound bigger than that. Structured, known, documented. My eyes moved to her face, looking for some sign that I was misunderstanding this. I wasn't. She kept going. "There has been an unauthorized diversion of medical funds." Yes, I said medical. Yes, I'm sure. Unauthorized diversion, not borrowing, not a misunderstanding, not family helping family. I don't know why that wording hit me so hard, but it did. Because suddenly this wasn't about emotion anymore. It was about intent, and intent changes everything. Grandma was quiet for a moment, listening, then glanced at me. "She's here with me now." I didn't realize I had stopped breathing until my chest started to hurt. Daniel must have been asking questions because Grandma's answers came clipped and exact. "Yes, the full amount. Yes, she has confirmation from the hospital. Yes, the withdrawal cleared 3 days ago." 3 days. That detail came back again like a blade. 3 days while I was double-checking post-op instructions. 3 days while I was trying to prepare for surgery. 3 days while my parents smiled in the background of my sister's photo like they had done something generous. And maybe that was the worst part. They probably thought they had. Grandma ended the call by saying, "I want all restrictions reviewed immediately. And Daniel?" She paused, her voice dropping lower. "No courtesy warning." That made my stomach twist. No courtesy warning. She hung up and placed the phone in her lap. I stared at her. What does that mean? For a second, she didn't answer. The monitor beside her bed kept up its soft, indifferent rhythm. Somewhere down the hall, a cart rolled past. Everything outside the room kept moving like my life hadn't just split in half. Then Grandma turned to me and said, "It means your parents don't get time to rehearse." I felt cold all over. "What exactly did you tell him?" I asked. "The truth." "No, I mean..." I shook my head. "Why did you call Daniel? Why not just call them and tell them to give it back?" That was the question, wasn't it? The normal question. The one a daughter still trying to protect what little remained of her family would ask. Grandma looked at me for a long moment. Not unkindly, but directly. "Yeah, because people who steal from your surgery fund to buy another child a car do not respond to shame," she said. "They respond to consequences." That sat between us for a second. Hard, clean, inarguable. And underneath the shock, underneath the hurt, another feeling started to surface. Recognition. Because hadn't I seen this before? Not like this, not this big, not this cruel, but smaller versions of it. My birthday money reallocated for a family expense. My college move-in day overshadowed because Talia had a panic over not liking her dorm color scheme. My pain dismissed because Talia had a bad breakup. Every time something was mine, somehow it became negotiable. Every time something was hers, it became urgent. Grandma must have seen something change in my face because her expression softened, just a little. "I need you to hear me clearly, Mara," she said. "This did not begin, go chapter 2. Approximately 600 words. I need you to hear me clearly, Mara. This did not begin with the car." That was how she finished the sentence. Not loudly, not dramatically, just precisely. And somehow that made it worse. Because up until that moment, I had still been holding on to a version of reality where this exact situation was the breaking point, the exception, the one time things went too far. But what if it wasn't? What if this was just the first time it was impossible to ignore? I felt my throat tighten slightly. "Then when did it start?" Grandma didn't answer right away. She adjusted her position slowly, the effort visible now, but her eyes never left mine. "Years ago," she said. "Just smaller, easier to excuse." That word again. Excuse. And suddenly, memories started lining up in my head, not as isolated moments, but as a pattern. Money borrowed and never returned. Plans changed last minute because something came up for Talia. My needs delayed, deferred, downplayed, always reasonable, always temporary. Until it wasn't. I leaned back slightly in the chair, trying to process it without letting it completely knock the air out of me. "So they've just been... what? Taking things from me this whole time?" I asked. "Not always taking," she said carefully, "but always choosing." That distinction landed harder than anything else, because taking could be denied. But choosing? That required awareness. That meant they knew. The room went quiet again, but it wasn't the same silence as before. This one had weight, direction. Like everything was slowly pointing toward something I hadn't fully seen yet. Then I remembered the call. "The account," I said. "You told him to review it. Why? It's just my savings, right?" Grandma's expression shifted slightly. Not surprise. More like confirmation that I didn't know. "Mara," she said gently, "that account was never just your savings." And there it was. That feeling again, like the ground wasn't stable anymore. "What does that mean?" I asked. She reached for the water beside her bed, took a small sip, then set it back down with careful precision. "2 years ago, when you told me about the surgery. Do you remember what I said?" I frowned slightly, trying to pull it back. "You said to make sure I protected the money." "Yes," she nodded. "And you told me your parents wanted to help manage it." I nodded slowly. At the time, it had sounded responsible, logical, safe. "I didn't stop you," she continued, "but I didn't leave it unguarded either." My chest tightened. "What did you do?" I asked. Her answer came calmly. "I structured part of those funds through a medical trust." Everything in me went still. "A trust? You mean like legally?" I asked. "Yes." My thoughts started racing now, faster than I could organize them. "Wait, so that money wasn't just sitting there?" "No," she said. "A portion of it was protected, accessible, but only under specific conditions." "Conditions like what?" "Like being used for your medical treatment." The words hung in the air, clear, simple, dangerous. I stared at her. "And they broke that?" She didn't soften it. "Oh, yes." No hesitation, no doubt, just fact. And that's when the weight of everything shifted again, but this time not into confusion, into something sharper. Because if that was true, then this wasn't just betrayal. It wasn't even just theft. It was something with consequences that couldn't be explained away with family arguments or emotional excuses. It was documented, traceable, provable. Does that mean... I hesitated, the question feeling heavier than anything I'd asked so far. "Are they in legal trouble?" Grandma didn't rush her answer. "Yes," she said. "If they don't correct it immediately, it escalates very quickly." I exhaled slowly, my hands tightening in my lap. And for the first time since this started, I didn't feel powerless. I didn't feel okay, but I didn't feel helpless either. And that was new. The phone buzzed softly on the table beside her. Grandma glanced at it, then picked it up. A message from Daniel. She read it once, then handed the phone to me. "Read that." I looked down. My eyes scanned the message once, then again, slower. And as the meaning settled in, something cold spread through my chest. Because this wasn't just about getting the money back anymore. This was already in motion, already formal, already real. I looked up at her, my voice quieter now. "What happens next?" Grandma didn't hesitate. "They've been notified." A pause, then, "and they're already responding." End of chapter 2. Waiting for your go to continue to chapter 3. Go chapter 3. Approximately 600 words. By the time I got home, they were already waiting. That's how fast it moved. That's how little time there was between truth and consequences. I remember pulling into the driveway and immediately noticing something was off. Both of their cars were there, parked too neatly, too deliberately, like they hadn't moved since they got home, like they were waiting for me. And here's the question. Have you ever walked into a room knowing something has already started without you? That whatever conversation is about to happen, you're already behind in it? That's exactly what it felt like. I opened the front door slowly. No TV, no music, just silence. Then, "Mara," my mother's voice, sharp, controlled, sitting at the dining table. My dad was next to her, leaning forward slightly, hands clasped like he was trying to hold something together. They didn't look angry. That would have been easier. They looked tense, cornered, and that was new. I stepped inside, closing the door behind me, took a few steps forward but didn't sit, didn't ask what was going on, because I already knew. My dad spoke first. "We got a call." Of course they did. I nodded once. I figured. A pause. Then my mom leaned forward slightly. "What exactly did you tell your grandmother?" There it was. Not what happened. Not "is this true?" Not even "why would you do this?" Just, "What did you say?" Because whatever I said had already caused damage, and they knew it. I held her gaze. The truth. That answer didn't calm anything. If anything, it made the tension snap tighter. My dad exhaled slowly, rubbing his hands together. "Mara, we can explain this." Explain. That word felt almost insulting, but I let him continue. "We were going to replace the money," he said quickly. "This wasn't permanent." I tilted my head slightly. "With what?" That stopped him. Just for a second, but it was enough. My mom jumped in. "That's not the point. The point is your sister needed—" "No," I cut in, my voice calm but sharp. "I needed surgery." Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. The kind of silence that forces people to either tell the truth or double down on something worse. Guess which one they chose? "You don't understand the pressure she's under," my mom said. Go conclusion. Approximately 1,100 words. "You don't understand the pressure she's under." That's what my mom said. And for a second, I just looked at her. Not angry, not yelling, just looking. Because I wanted to understand how she could say that, out loud, while standing in the wreckage of what they'd done. "The pressure?" I repeated quietly. "She got a car." My dad shifted in his seat. "It's not just about the car." "Then what is it about?" I asked. And that was the moment everything stopped pretending. Because neither of them had a clean answer. Not one that made sense, not one that didn't fall apart the second it touched reality. "It was temporary," my dad said again, weaker this time. "We were going to fix it before your surgery." "How?" I asked. Silence. Real silence now. No rehearsed lines, no shared glances, no fallback, because this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a decision. And now, finally, they were sitting inside it. I let a few seconds pass before I said the thing that changed the direction of the entire conversation. "It wasn't your money." My mom frowned. "Of course it was. We're on the account." "No," I said, cutting her off again. "It wasn't." That's when I saw it. That flicker. The first real crack. Confusion, uncertainty, fear just starting to form. I reached into my bag and pulled out my phone, opening the message Grandma had shown me. I didn't hand it to them right away. I just held it. Let them look at it, let them wonder. "There's a trust attached to that account," I said evenly. "A medical trust, set up 2 years ago." My dad's expression changed instantly. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about legal restrictions," I continued. "The kind that say you can access the money, but only for my surgery." My mom shook her head immediately. No one told us that." "That's not the same as it not existing," I said. And that landed. Hard. Because now this wasn't just about what they thought they were allowed to do, it was about what they actually did, and what it meant. My dad leaned back slightly, running a hand over his face. Okay, we didn't know about that, but we can fix it. We'll just move the money back." "You don't have the money," I said. Another silence, this one sharper. Because we all knew it was true. The car, the taxes, the insurance, the reality of how quickly $68,000 disappears when it's already been spent. My mom's voice dropped. "We'll figure it out." I nodded slowly. "You have to," I said. And then I added, "because the attorney already knows." That was it. That was the moment everything shifted from tension to consequence. My dad looked up sharply. "Attorney?" "Daniel Kessler," I said. "Grandma called him this morning." Neither of them spoke. But I watched it happen. The realization, the recalculation, the quiet panic settling in behind their eyes. Because Daniel wasn't just some lawyer. He was the lawyer, the one who knew everything about our family's finances, the one who didn't deal in emotions or explanations, just documentation. "What did he say?" my mom asked, her voice tighter now. I didn't rush the answer. I let it sit, let the weight of it build. Then, "He's already flagged the withdrawal as a breach of fiduciary duty." My dad's face went pale. My mom didn't move at all. And if it's not corrected immediately," I continued, "it escalates to formal legal action." That was the word that did it. Legal. Not family disagreement, not misunderstanding, legal. And suddenly, all the confidence they walked in with was gone, replaced by something much quieter, much more fragile. "How long do we have?" my dad asked. "Not long," I said, and I meant it. Logical payoff. Within 48 hours, everything became real. Not emotionally, legally. Daniel sent a formal notice outlining exactly what had happened. The account had a protected medical trust component. The funds were restricted for surgical use only. The withdrawal constituted a clear violation of those terms. The transaction trail directly connected to the purchase of Talia's car. There was no ambiguity, no gray area, no room to reinterpret it. They had taken restricted medical funds and used them for something else. That's it. Consequence payoff. Legal consequences. My parents didn't fight it. They couldn't. Within days, they were forced to take out a high-interest loan, liquidate part of their savings, cover penalties and legal fees, and most importantly, return the full $68,000. The trust was immediately restructured. Their access revoked. Permanently. Social consequences. Word spread faster than I expected. Not publicly, but within the family. And the story didn't sound the way my parents would have told it. It sounded like what it was. They took money meant for their daughter's surgery and bought a car instead. People remembered that. Talia's outcome. At first, she didn't take it seriously. She thought it was dramatic, temporary, fixable. Until the car had to go back. Returned. Gone just as quickly as it appeared. The posts disappeared after that. So did the captions. And for the first time in her life, there was no version of the story where she came out looking untouched. She didn't apologize to me, not really, but she stopped talking like she was owed something, and that alone said enough. Relational consequences. Things didn't explode. They didn't need to. They just changed. Quietly. Permanently. I stopped explaining myself, stopped filling in the gaps, stopped trying to make things feel normal when they weren't. We still spoke. Sometimes. But it was different now. measured, careful. Like everyone understood there were lines that couldn't be crossed again. Because now, there were consequences when they were. Emotional payoff. The money came back. That part was simple. What wasn't simple was what came with it. Because when the hospital called again, this time confirming everything was in place, I didn't feel relief right away. I felt still, like my body was waiting to see if something else would go wrong. But nothing did. The surgery was back on schedule. 9 days became 5, then 3, then 1, and then it happened. No delays, no cancellations, no missing pieces, just done. Recovery wasn't easy, but it was real. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't waiting for something to fall apart. Final resolution moment. A week later, I went back to hospice. Room 214. Same quiet, same stillness. Grandma looked even smaller now. But when she saw me actually walk in, something in her eyes shifted. Not surprise, not pride, just recognition. "Well," she said softly, "you're standing." I nodded, pulling a chair closer. "I am." She studied me for a moment, then asked the only question she cared about. "Did they learn?" I thought about it, about the calls, the silence, the consequences, everything that followed. And then I answered honestly. "They learned there are consequences." She nodded once. That was enough for her. And strangely, it was enough for me too. Final line. I used to think I needed my family to feel secure, to feel supported, to feel safe. But standing there on my own after everything, I understood something better. They thought I wouldn't survive without them. Turns out, I just needed the truth. End of conclusion, a story complete.